We are so blessed, all of us in the unity movement, to have these five basic unity principles. That's what they're called, the five basic unity principles. God is, I am, I create, I pray and meditate, and I act. And these principles are meant to point the way for us. These are tools, these are practical guides for us to use on our spiritual journeys. They are not dogma to recite, and they are not meant to constrain us in any way. Rather, they form a framework within which we have the freedom to experiment, experience, explore, and as we say within unity, embrace those things that work for us and release anything that does not. These five basic principles have really emerged over time. They have been gleaned from lessons and letters and lectures, articles. If we were to be able to time travel, go back in time and ask Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of our unity movement, what the five basic unity principles are, they would not be able to answer us. For this was actually not formulated during Myrtle's lifetime at all. Charles had created a list of like 32 things, some of which are pretty radical in our days, of which unity believed. But it was over a matter of almost 25 years that it took multiple ministers and instructors to summarize, to kind of consolidate the wording of what exactly it is that unity does believe. What is our theology? How do we hold God? What's the nature of God as we see it? And this did not have one singular author. No one can claim authorship to the five basic unity principles, which are still being reworded today. If you go online, you can find several different slight changes in the wordings of these principles, although the essence remains the same. What Charles Fillmore did write about unity is this: we have studied many isms, many cults. People of every religion under the sun claim that we either belong to them or have borrowed the best of our teaching from them. We have borrowed the best from all religions. That is why we are called unity. Unity is not a sect. It's not a separation of people into an exclusive group of know-it-alls. Unity is the truth that is taught in all religions, simplified so that anyone can understand and apply them. Students of unity do not find it necessary to sever their church affiliations. That is how unity began, as a way of taking the truths that we learn from all religions and massaging them in a way that we could practice them, that we could understand them. That's why unity is called practical Christianity. It's how to take those ideas and ideals and beliefs and put them into a framework that we can actually use. And we choose to make this spiritual journey, each one of us. We have our own spiritual paths. We follow our own paths to that North Star. And that is really a journey inward as we realize our Christ nature that is right within us in our Christ consciousness. And so we began last week with our first of the unity principles. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent, meaning all powerful. And I invited you to consider exchanging that word out in for as. There's only one power and one presence as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotent. And last week we looked at broadening our understanding of God, as seeing God as a field of love, a field of intelligence, as a foundation for the universe. God is all that is. And we revisited the three faces of God, the three ways that we can, as individuals, hold God, talk about God, talk to God. There's the infinite God, the God up here, the one in the clouds. There's the God that's intimate, that is right beside us. And there is the innermost God that is right here. There is no spot that God is not. So God is everywhere present. And at different times and different situations in our lives, we may choose to speak to that essence of God in any or all of those three aspects, those three perceptions of that essence. We also looked at the word for God, whatever our personal word for God might be: divine light, infinite love, divine intelligence. And we recognize that on one hand, the word we have for God is not important. And on the other hand, it is supremely important to us. For we choose that which we can connect with, that we can embrace personally, that we can hold as our very own. And so today we move into our second unity principle to explore, to examine, to experiment with. Our second unity principle we call the great I am, or the God within, the God as me. For if God is everywhere present, God is also within me and within you and within every individual, every essence on this planet. I am inherently good because God is inherently good. You are inherently good. Everyone on this planet is inherently good. The Spirit of God lives within each person, each and every person. So that essence and that inherent goodness is within every being, every person, regardless of their beliefs, like us, they're most unlike us. That essence of God is there. And that essential goodness is there. So let's take a look at that essential goodness. Some versions of the second principle include the wording that human beings have a spark of divinity within them. Everyone has this spark of divinity, this little, almost indiscernible light. So let's envision that for a moment, shall we? And I have my little toolbox here. Imagine in your mind's eye that you're taking a nice big black marker and you're drawing a picture of the outline of yourself, like a paper doll. And so you draw the head and the arms, the legs, the arm again, and back up to the head. And then you take the tiniest of pens that you can find with yellow ink, and you put a little dot in that paper doll. Can you hold that vision? Now, I'd like you to erase that vision. I'd like you to delete it, to cancel it, to remove it. You can take that same marker in your mind. You can put an X through it. You can take a giant imaginary eraser and erase that vision. You can take a bucket of water, splash it all over that vision, for we're going to debunk, just as you heard in the daily word and just as you heard in meditation, that our essence of the divine is a tiny little spark. No, it's so much more than that. And so we're going to create a new vision in our mind. Take a very thin pencil and let's draw again that paper doll. We have our head, our arms, our legs, our arm, back up to our head. Now I'd like you to take the largest yellow highlighter you can find in your mind. Maybe you have the version of one that's so bright it almost glows in the dark. And I want you to color in that paper doll that you've drawn in your mind. Every space is filled with bright yellow light. For I believe and I affirm that that light of God, that essence, that Christ consciousness within us can barely be contained in these human suits, in this layer of skin, in this oxygen suit that we wear. That is the vision of the light within us. That is the vision of God as us. And so let's look beyond the facade. Let's look beyond the outward appearance. Those of you who are sitting in the sanctuary, you have others around you that you can glance around and look at. And those of you on Zoom have other little faces on the screen that you can see. And if you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, just hold in your mind's eye. Imagine that your family, the people that you know. And now let's soften our eyes. Soften our eyes and look past those human suits that we are all wearing and imagine only light. Imagine that each individual that you are looking at right now is only light. Brilliant, bright light. Essence of love. The essence of God. And now I invite you to look at yourself, look at your arms with soft eyes and see that same brilliance just beneath the surface. Just beneath the surface. Isn't that beautiful? Well, you are stardust. Scientists have proven that atoms of your body, there are the remains of supernovas that exploded and cast their elements into the galaxy. But regardless of what we are made of, we are first the idea in God mind. You were first the idea in God mind. And if God is all there is, how can you be anything but divine? Imago Dei, the image of God. We are the image and we are the likeness of God. The likeness meaning that we possess within us all the qualities of God. All the love, all the wisdom, all the zeal, all the intelligence, the creativity, the imagination, the strength, all within us. We are all expressions of the divine. During my work in this series, this book from Ellen Davenport, The Five Principles, has been one of my constant companions. And Mary Ellen, I think, showed that book as the book of the week recently. And in this book, Ellen described something that most of us have heard and that she heard from other Unity ministers and teachers. And that's one way to envision us as waves in the ocean. I'm a wave in the ocean. You're a wave in the ocean. Everyone is a wave in the ocean, and the ocean is God. Every wave contains every element within that ocean. Yes, the ocean is bigger, but every wave, every one of us contains every element that is God, every quality that is God. For we are the divine expressing as a human form. You are and I am. And we can never be separated from God. And we've only begun to tap into the power of the human spirit. We are still at the beginning of our evolution. We are each evolving. You and I, we are each evolving. And humans are the first of the species to understand their capacity to change. We can and we do evolve consciously every time we choose a higher thought. Every time we remember who we are and come from an essence of love and compassion. We are evolving every time we choose who we want to be and explore ways that we cooperate in our world for the benefit of all. And this is all about awareness. It is all about consciousness, our states of consciousness. The teachings of Jesus was pointing the way for us. Jesus was demonstrating what is possible for us, for each one of us, when we fully align with the God within and think and believe and act from that state of mind. Jesus was able to love, to forgive, to heal, and to teach, living from that God self, from that Christ presence, from that Christ consciousness. And he said we could do the same. Actually, he said, and we shall do even greater things than these. For that same divine essence that was in Jesus and is in Jesus dwells in each of us. That essence is the same. We are waves in the water. Jesus is a wave in the water. Now, Jesus is a larger wave, perhaps, but the elements are the same. The essence is the same. Jesus taught us that second unity principle, that we are all expressions of the divine in the human form, and our essences of God, that our essence is good. Jesus taught us also to focus on our consciousness. We remember that one of his methods of teaching, he would say, it is said, and he would quote something from the Torah, the Talmud, from the Hebrew scriptures. And then he would say, but I say to you, and he would expand the teaching. For instance, he would say that the same consciousness of holding anger towards someone is the same as murder, and that lust is the same as adultery. He was trying to teach us that our states of consciousness, our thoughts, affect our beliefs and our actions. Our thoughts, good and bad, affect our consciousness, and that we as spiritual beings can choose what those thoughts are. And that even when we hold thoughts that we do not act upon, we hold negative thoughts, they affect our consciousness. And he was teaching us that. For only through awareness can we make a difference. Only through awareness can we change those thoughts. Can we change those beliefs? Our thoughts affect our beliefs affect our actions. So it's through awareness that we change those thoughts. And that's the point of spiritual growth. That's why we come to church every week. It's why we read books. It's why we take classes. It's why we try new things. It's why we hear about a spiritual tool and we take it with us and we practice it. For we are choosing to change the way we've been thinking and believing and acting. We are choosing to live from that Christ consciousness, from that higher state of being, making decisions from that higher self. Being loving with an unconditional and an inexhaustible energy of the divine, and contributing to the well-being of those around us and our planet, to express effortlessly who we are and to remember whose we are. We're all children of God. We all have the same ancestor. And this comes through spiritual maturity. For each of us know our higher self. We have felt that inner witness. We have heard that still small voice, that inner awareness, the consciousness of our existence and our choices, and that still small voice might whisper in our ear. It's more of a sensing, perhaps. It's a nudging to set our ego aside and to care, truly care for one another, giving up our attachments to drama, giving up our attachments to the human experience, to being victims or heroes or to being right everyone else is wrong, giving up the drama and choosing that higher state of consciousness. Jesus Christ and others showed us what it looks like to live from that higher self, to call forth the compassion and the love that exist within us naturally, to call it forth, to allow the ego to serve compassion and love. We came to the earth as spiritual beings to have a human experience, and all of those experiences are valuable to us. I share with you this morning the words of Eckhart Tolle in his book, A New Earth. Jesus spoke of the innermost I am, the essence of identity of every man and woman, every life form. He speaks of the life that you are. Christian mystics have called it the Christ within. Buddhists call it your Buddha nature. And the Hindus, it is Atman, the indwelling God. When you are in touch with the dimension within yourself, and being in touch with that dimension is your natural state, all your actions and relationships will reflect the oneness with all life that you sense deep within. And this is love. St. Augustine said, love and do what you will. The Apostle Paul said, Christ in you, the hope of glory. And in the Gospel of Thomas, we are told the kingdom is inside of you and it is outside of you. You are absolutely unconditional love. You are absolutely omnipotent good. You are the power that birthed the universe. This week, make an effort to see that brilliant light within every person that you come in contact with. Make an effort to see that brilliant light within you. And so it is, my friends. God bless you.